Hey YouTube faithful, Heavenly Prepper here. Today I want to talk about a question that should be important to all of us. And the question is, where should you store the majority of your wealth? And a lot of people would say you need to have your wealth, at least a major portion of it, in real estate. Now, whether that's your personal residence or investment real estate, we're going to talk both of those. But people believe that your personal residence, that's as secure of a wealth position as you can be in, because you're living in the house, you're building equity every month, and having money within your house is a smart play. And according to the old rules, that's exactly correct. Because what did our parents do? Our parents worked for one place for 30 years, got a good retirement, and they had their house paid off by the time they retired. And there was nothing wrong with that. That was a good plan for them. But if you want to work off your parents' old paradigm into this new paradigm, you may be met with failure. And so we're going to talk about that. Now, I want to first off tell you what I'm not referring to. I'm not referring to silver in an ETF. I'm not referring to silver mining stocks, unallocated silver accounts, paper silver, silver guarantees. I'm only considering physical silver you can hold in your hands and silver stored in private registered accounts globally, where your silver is separated and you're probably paying a storage fee, but only from a bullion company like Miles Franklin or somebody like that, not a bank like JP Morgan or some major bank or a government entity. Now, like I said, when I talk about real estate, I'm referring to both your personal residence and investment real estate. And what I'm referring to is if you have money tied up in the house. Okay, I'm all for people owning a home. But I'm not for, okay, this could be different for you, I'm just telling you what I'm not for, is for people saving up all their money and paying off their house. Especially if it makes you cash poor. And here's why, okay? Number one, first off, and most importantly, it limits your options. If all your cash is tied up in your personal residence, what happens if you lose your job? What happens if you have a medical debilitating emergency? Okay? You know what banks loan money on? They loan money on income. And so if you're now unable to provide an income based on a disability, based on a job loss, no one's going to loan you money. So all that money that's tied up in your house, you have to sell in order to get the money out. And maybe that's your baby, that's your house, who knows? So unless you're ready to sell your house at the drop of a hat to cash out of your house, then real estate is probably not the best place to store your wealth. Okay? And that's a personal residence. Now let's talk about investment real estate. If you can purchase with little to no money down, and after all your expenses, repairs, maintenance, property management, vacancy, unexpected costs, if you still, after all that, have a positive monthly cash flow of at least, let's say, $200, then it might be a place to store some of your wealth. But remember, I said only if you can get in slim, only if you can get in on a thin margin, let's say $3,000, $5,000, $10,000. Because if you have to put 20% up to buy this investment real estate, well, your money is going to be better served elsewhere. Okay? So after all those expenses, if you can still make at least $200 a month and you can get in for very little, then it might be an avenue for you. But this is very difficult to do, especially if you're not a professional and you don't have professional real estate contacts, and if you're not a realtor yourself, because just the fees from the realtors alone selling your house is enough to get you. Now, obviously, I'm a fan of silver. I believe that you should store some, maybe even a majority of your wealth in this physical, tangible asset. Because it can't be inflated away. It can't be controlled by the government and just printed out of thin air. And no matter what the price is, it still has value and it's still an ounce you can hold in your hands. No matter what the price is, I still have that ounce in my hand. Okay? Now let's talk about the most important thing here, and that's what I call counterparty risk. What kind of counterparty risk do you have when you're sitting here holding this Canadian Maple Leaf, this American Silver Eagle in your hand? What counterparty risk do you have? There's none. There's no counterparty risk. I hold it. I own it. Now let's talk about real estate, whether that's investment real estate or your personal residence. Okay, obviously this is not my house. It's a small house that I made for my daughter. But let's talk about the counterparty risk. First off, you could be in a position where, unbeknownst to you, your mortgage that you thought was a fixed rate mortgage resets. Like just what happened in Ireland to 1 in 14 homeowners. Now I admit that's a slim chance, but how do you know? Number 2, you could be told something you're doing is not legal anymore. So let's say you want to be a good libertarian, a good free market capitalist, a good resilient homeowner, and you decide, I want to garden in my front lawn because this useless grass that's just sitting there that looks nice serves no purpose. Or you say that I want to harvest my rainwater to water my garden or to use for other purposes on my property. Well, homeowners these days are being told that that's illegal and that they are not able to do these things on their property because it's not in the best interest of the government or in the best interest of the community. What other counterparty risks are there? Well, you could have, if this is an investment property, you might have terrible tenants. And I'm speaking from experience here. This isn't just a conjecture. I've been there. I've had these terrible tenants where a tenant moves out and not only do you have to repair the property for $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, but you now have 2 months of vacancy as well. So you're out $10,000 in 2-3 months. Excuse me. What other counterparty risks are there? Well, a lot of you have homeowners associations. This is a counterparty risk that's hard to even fathom because you would think that they have no power, but they do. I have a personal friend that was told he had to take down an American flag that he had in his backyard before the homeowners association even existed, and he refused, and they were going to take him to court. But he finally won because he had the flag pole in his backyard before the HOA existed, so they grandfathered him in. It's just small stuff like that. You can't... What are the counterparty risks? Oh yeah, the government, property tax. Let's say we just went through some kind of an economic scenario. Where do you think the government's going to try to pull money from? Homeowners? Yeah, it's a huge source of income for them. So if you own your house and maybe 5 other real estate properties and property taxes go up 10, 15, 20%, again, just enough to make it really hurt for you. Okay? So the question becomes, why would you put your wealth into this real estate that could go down, as we've seen, at any moment? And the question is, what would your house be worth if you couldn't get this cheap loan for it that we can get right now? If you couldn't get this cheap loan, if people couldn't buy your house with this cheap financing that the Fed throws around, with these Federal Reserve notes, what would your house truly be worth? It's a question. A lot less. A lot less. If we had true free market capital interest rates, your house would be worth a lot less. That's just the reality of the situation. So, again, I have nothing against real estate. Everyone's got to have a place to live. Even that little guy. All right? But be smart about it. You need a place to live, but where should you hold your wealth? If you ask me, it should be in physical, tangible assets with little to no counterparty risk. That's where you should hold your wealth. And like I said, I didn't say all of it, but a fair amount. Maybe even a majority. So I'm interested in your comments. I'm interested in your opinions. Obviously, some of you are going to disagree with me. That's okay. Here at Heavenly Prepper, we encourage disagreement. I like to hear all sides. Well, this is Heavenly Prepper, preaching and prepping.